Hello everyone, this is the Circular Economist here, back with another video. Short disclaimer in the beginning, those videos are for educational purposes only and not to be seen as anything else. I am a circular economist specialized in circular industrial economy, sustainability topics, and environmental education. And today I wanted to give you the first principle on which the circular industrial economy is based, the first principle of the elimination of waste and pollution. Because as stated, those principles, those three principles are pretty big topics. So I really wanted to have a separate video for this. So I got my coffee ready. So let's dive in. The first principle of the circular economy is to eliminate waste and pollution. So we already stated this. Currently, our economy works in a take-make-waste system. I am not going to repeat this. We have stated this several times now. So we know the linear flow of resources, what problems arose out of this linear system, and how this actually works through the take-make-waste principle. We take raw materials from Earth, we produce something with them, eventually throw them away as waste. So the system is not really going to work in the long term because our planet's resources are finite. So the problem and the solution starts with the design. So as stated, the design phase of a product is one of the most important things. So we know from, for example, the European Commission that almost 80% of environmental impacts of products or services, for that matter, are decided at the design phase. So if we have the design ready and sustainable design, circular design prevalent in the product, this actually really helps in terms of the environmental impacts. So the problem and the solution starts with the design. For many products on the market, there is no onward path after their useful life. For example, packaging, where it is stated by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, for example, multi-material flexible packaging. So they cannot be reused, recycled, or composted, so they end up as waste. Why is that the case? So multi-material flexible plastic packages. Okay, so that's actually a really complex term, but here it is meant that there are a lot of different types of plastics prevalent in one product. So in the industry, for example, in the food industry, there are a lot of different plastic types that are in one packaging. And of course, in the recycling process, this is really hard to recycle. So actually, through the reduction of material complexity, recycling would actually be way easier. Of course, there are other things, for example, the ingredients in terms of hazardous materials or hazardous chemicals, but that's another topic. So the lower the material complexity, the better for circularity. Although it sometimes seems like waste is inevitable in certain situations, waste is actually the result of design choices. So in the circular economy, waste does not exist. In the circular economy, waste is actually seen as a design failure. So the other thing we have stated, also stated here by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, there is no waste in nature. It is a concept we have introduced ourselves. It's actually really, really funny. So we've actually have gotten away so far away from nature that we actually introduced the term for our own inefficiencies and material usage. But yeah, so if we look in nature, if we look at in a forest, for example, forest is a perfect circular economy, almost perfect circular economy, where materials are cycled in feedback loops, and this nature does that so well so that actually no waste lands up anywhere else or is not used. So nature uses everything, as we've already stated in the previous videos, but that's a topic for another video, because that is the big picture. But yeah, from tiny short-lived products like crisp packets all the way up to seemingly permanent structures like building and roads, the economy is filled with things that have been designed without asking what happens to this at the end of its life, or what happens to the products or materials at the end of their useful life. For example, a building has a useful life, for example, of maybe 25 to 30, 50 years. And no one actually, since the 50s, since the 60s, has actually asked the question, what happens when this building is not to be used anymore? When, yeah, what happens after that? Really important question to ask for the circular economy. As stated, we can ask that question in almost every sector of the global economy today. So textiles, packaging, plastic packaging, metals, biological materials, etc. From linear to circular, we have to shift our mindset so that we see waste as a design flaw, with the goal in mind that we actually want to eliminate the waste overall in the future. Specification for any design is that the materials re-enter the economy at the end of their use. By doing this, we take the linear take-make-waste system and make it circular. So what we mean by that, I brought you a graphic where it is easier for you to understand what we mean here. Many products could be circulated, being maintained, shared, reused, repaired, refurbished, manufactured, remanufactured, or as a last resort, recycled. Food and other biological materials that are safe to return to nature can regenerate the land, fueling the production of new foods and materials. So we have to distinguish between technical and biological cycles. We will go into this in the upcoming videos because there's a lot of detail here. I wanted to go from the bigger picture to the details so that actually you understand the details, what is meant in the upcoming videos. So with focus on design, we can eliminate the concept of waste. Yeah, concept of waste, because waste is a concept, because waste is actually nothing real. We've invented that ourselves. Waste is just resources used inefficiently. Or, as we always said in waste management, the best waste is no waste. Okay? So what do we mean here with designing out waste? I brought you a graphic where you actually can see the easier version of the circular economy. So we have raw materials. It's actually a part of the linear industrial economy where in a linear fashion the raw materials are entering the system. And then we want to circulate products and materials, or materials and products, in the best way possible at high purity loops, at high valued loops. So actually they maintain, so we send them in circles, we send materials in loops at the highest possible value. And why is the design so important? So the design phase, as stated, 80% of the environmental impact is decided at the design phase. Why is that? So we design products with circularity in mind. What does that mean? We have to design a product so that the materials used for that product are circulated through production, distribution, consumption, and then collected and then recycled into the same product or another product. And that's actually the hard part. So you actually have to think about the end at the beginning. Now, dualistic thinking does not really help here because you have to have two separate scenarios in your mind simultaneously, right? So how do you build a product? And what is the end of that product that you've built? And how does that product is designed in such a way that it is able to reintegrate into itself? So the beginning of the product is actually the end of the product, and the end of the product is actually the beginning of the product. And that's the hard part for designers, right? Because that's really hard to think about, because the recycling process or the collection and recycling process at the end of the product cycle or at the end of this loop is actually dependent on the design that's happened in the first place. So it's really hard to think about this. But yeah, I hope it's clear what is meant in this overall theme. So if we can manage that, for example, reduce material complexity, that recycling is not that costly, for example, or do not allow hazardous chemicals, for example, in the design phase in the product, then recycling is also more not so costly. And yeah, that's actually the thing, how we can design products that don't actually become waste. So we leave everything else on the side that is hindering this closing of the loop, this collection, recycling, and everything that's not favorable to make the same product again or use those modular components for another product, for example. We'll leave everything out that is hindering this process, and then actually we can loop those materials with the least amounts of barriers possible. So I hope this is understandable. Of course, you can write comments in the comment section, because that's actually a pretty big mindset shift. But yeah, that's from the design phase, elimination of waste and pollution, how we're doing that. This starts at the design phase. The design phase is really, really important, or if not the most important thing. Contact me. I'll leave my email address in the description. You can also visit my homepage, where you can book a training for your company, specialized in cost reductions for companies or people in a personal manner. Yeah, so that was it. If you have any questions, contact me, and I wish you all a nice day. And in the upcoming videos, we're going to dive into the second principle. So wish you all the best, guys. See ya.